All right, so we're continuing our social studies lesson today with our urban, suburban, and rural communities. So in this picture, let's go over some things that we see. We see a barn. We see lots of land. We don't really see any cars or any people. We see some woods. So which one do you think it is? Remember from yesterday and say it to yourself, and let's check our answer. A rural community. These communities are areas with lots of land that are far away from cities. In a rural community, there may be lots of farms and forests, and people living in these areas usually have to drive a little bit of a ways to get to a store, a restaurant, or a neighbor's house. So this is an area that has lots of lands, could be near lakes or a forest where there's not a lot of people. So now we have this picture. What do we see? We see houses with yards. We see a road. It kind of looks like a neighborhood, a subdivision. We see some people walking their dogs, but it doesn't seem overly crowded where you're around people 24/7. What do you think it is? If you guessed suburban, you are correct. Let me move my head. Suburbans are towns that are near a city, so they're on the outside of a city. In a suburban community, you would see houses, streets, trees, parks, people, and sometimes stores and restaurants. They would be pretty close by. So this would be Plum, and this is a suburban community. And what you could do in the suburbs is you could ride your bike on the street, and it wouldn't be overly crowded. You can play outside in your yard. And then, we're not going to watch a video, sorry. Sorry about that, but now we're going over our urban community, which our urban is going to be like a city. This is a city with lots of streets, cars, businesses, buildings, and people. You can usually walk anywhere. If you need to go to the store, you can just walk there, and it usually is pretty quick. So people live in apartments instead of houses. So like Pittsburgh, New York City, London. People live in majority of apartments, not houses. So what you could do in an urban community, you can walk everywhere, you can get around easily. So for our homework today, we're going to think about, they're going to list some things. We have to think, is this more urban, suburban, or rural? So remember, rural is going to be with farms. There's lots of space, not a lot of people. Suburban is going to be like a little community right outside the city. So that's where you'd see maybe subdivisions. And then urban is a city where it's super crowded and not a lot of people. So, in which kind of places are buses, trains, and subways more common? So that's places where people have to move a lot. So that's ways of transportation. In the suburb, you have houses, which you have driveways and cars. So it wouldn't be suburban. But in an urban area where it's city, where there's tons of people, they don't have a lot of cars because you could easily walk places or take one of these. So you just have to read and think which place describes it better. So which kind of place has more restaurants? An urban area, which is like a city, or a rural area, which has a lot of farms? Which place do you think is going to have more places to eat? An urban area, because it's a city. All right, so just take your time and make sure you're reading and thinking in your head, okay, suburban is the perfect in between. It's going to be like a subdivision. Urban is a big city like Phoenix, and rural is kind of like a lot of farms, a lot of land, not a lot of people. All right, have a great rest of your day.